Hi, this is Exploring with Em and Stu.
I'm Em.
And I'm Stu.
And today we are in Cromford in Derbyshire, and we're right now at the beginning of the High Peak Railway. So here we are at the Cromford Canal.
A canal? I thought this video was about a railway.
Well yes, but if it wasn't for this canal, the railway probably never would have been built. And although canals were in fact the favoured form of transportation in those days, it wasn't actually practical in this case because of the lack of water between those two locations. So in fact, building a railway was actually plan B, especially because most of the goods wagons were actually horse-drawn.
So, in 1831,
the High Peak Railway was finally completed.
And of course, you can't come to Cromford without visiting the Leawood Pumphouse.
When the Cromford Canal was completed in 1793, canals were the driving wheels of industry in the Derwent Valley. But ensuring the 14-mile-long canal was constantly topped up with water was often problematic, and it would regularly run dry, so that boats would often become grounded. This eventually resulted in the construction of the Leawood Pumphouse in 1850, which pumped water from the River Derwent below and into the canal above, and at its height of need was pumping nearly 500,000 gallons an hour using a steam-driven beam engine.
I think now we'll get back to the railway.
Now of course the goods needed to be taken off of the canal boats and put onto the wagons, and they did it at the wharf just here. So travelling through the High Peak region was problematic because it actually had to raise a gradient of 100 feet high from one end to the other. Now of course, if a canal had been built, then a series of locks would have been built along to deal with this gradient rise. But of course you can't build locks on the railway, so an alternative solution was needed. No locomotives or horses even today could climb such a steep gradient, so the engineer came up with the idea of a series of inclines, which would be powered by steam winding engines, and the sections of tracks in between would be levelled as much as possible. They weren't using a wide pulley system, as one wagon was hauled up, another was hauled down the track on the opposite side. In fact, there were 9 of these inclines in total, built along the whole line. Maintaining the railway was a busy job, and you can still find the railway workshops, which would have been originally used for maintenance of the wagons and rails in the early days, when the line was horse-drawn. Built in 1825, it is one of the first railway workshops ever constructed in the country, and now houses a visitor centre, as well as artefacts left frozen in time from when the line eventually closed in 1967. The first incline was called the Sheep Pastures Incline, and stretches 1/4 mile along the track. Towards the bottom of the incline is a pit to catch runaway trains. It was constructed in 1888 after a train leapt the track and the canal and actually crashed on the other side. And in the bottom of the pit here is actually an old wagon that crashed here in 1955. Thankfully, averting quite a catastrophic disaster. Each incline had an engine house at the top, but when it was first constructed, this one was too long for the haulage chain to be operated using a single winding engine, and so an additional engine was constructed halfway up and used until the 1850s, when wide rope became available, which was capable of doing the job in one go, resulting in the one here being demolished, and only the one at the top continuing to be used. And in fact, the remains of the engine house is still here, right at the top of that amazing incline. Unfortunately, it is the only building here to remain, as there used to be numerous buildings up here. And the alcove where the wires for the pulley system would have been housed is actually still here.
So we've climbed to the top of the incline, and I don't think anyone appreciates how steep those inclines actually are, but when you get to the top, this is what you're met with. So we got to the top, we saw the building, and it's been brilliant.
Yep, I think this is probably a good place to finish this particular video, as one incline is probably enough for one day.
Just for one day, but we may be coming back to do another one, which I think Emma's going to tell you about.
Yep, well the next one along, or possibly the one after that, is Middleton Top, which is a very famous winding station. I'll put some pictures of it. We have visited it, but we haven't done a video. Definitely one to return to. But this has been really quite an interesting place, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, it has. But as from Exploring with Emma Stew, we really hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to catch our Patreon, which is only now £3 a month. And also, catch us on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe.
So, we'll catch you again. We'll see you later.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.